2/3 of our economy. This is what's different than what we had in the Great Depression. This line is our economy. This used to be manufacturing. We used to make steel. I was in Pittsburgh over the weekend. We don't have steel. We have the United Steelworkers Union. That building's still there. Well, they still have offices and everything. They don't make any steel in Pittsburgh, but the union still has their building there. That's great because they did a good job. We should make that a memorial for the place that chased all of those jobs overseas. Thanks, union. I looked for the union label. These jobs used to be all about what? Creating stuff, selling cars, refrigerators. Now, 2/3 of the economy. That's why George Bush gave us the worst advice we could ever get. Go out and do your patriotic duty. Spend. Because if you don't spend, the economy stops. If you're in deflation and you don't believe that things are going to turn around, why are we going here? Because you know what we're doing in Washington does not start the engine. So you're like, hold your money. Hold your money. If it ever does start back up any place and we miss this magic moment and we try to pull all this money back, the Fed this is all your tax dollars put in here. This is all the stimulus. Trillions all in here. Just keeping things afloat. If we miss this and we hit it here, but we're way down here and we don't hit it, all of this money can't be sucked out. Hyperinflation. So you go from not being able, you could buy anything. You could buy a mansion because of deflation. You could buy anything. To overnight not being able to afford a loaf of bread. See, everything in Germany was very, very cheap. And then all of a sudden you needed a wheelbarrow to be able to buy a loaf of bread. And in fact, they used to pay you every couple of hours. You'd go to work, you'd get paid at 11 o'clock. People stopped, went out and bought groceries because they knew in 2 more hours those groceries would be double the price. You just have to understand that the magic we're playing in Washington has never worked before. Never. Never worked before. When they say deflation, know the first thing, it means they're going to have more money to spend. They're going to just come up with all kinds of things to fill this hole. Back in a minute. America, I want to talk to you about something that I don't think anybody else will. We're going to start having different conversations on this program than I think other shows. And it may seem unconnected to the news, disconnected from the news, but it is not. And I just ask you to trust me on that as we move forward. Progressives and radicals need the cover of darkness because they know that Americans would never willingly go along with a lot of their plans. They just have to push it through. The Weather Underground admitted as much. Saul Alinsky, the ends justify the means. Progressives have no problem lying, cheating, stealing, doesn't matter if it achieves the desired result. Now, here's where it gets dicey. Issues of faith. Faith is not off limits. I have been boycotted by the president's spiritual advisor, Jim Wallace. And all I did, good old SDS member, Meshuggah, Jim Wallace, was warn people about social justice. And I was shocked. I was shocked at how fast the bag of bricks was leveled at my head. Here's what Wallace says. The Bible is clear. Social justice is an integral part of God's plan for humanity. The Bible is clear. Now, let me show you this. I was reading this over the weekend. C.S. Lewis, The Screwtape Letters. Boy, you should read it. It's like it was written today. Actually written at the same time that Road to Serfdom was. On the other hand, we want very much to make men treat Christianity as a means, preferably, of course, as a means to their own advancement, but failing that, as a means to anything. This is the devil talking to one of his minions. Even to social justice. The thing to do is to get a man at first to value social justice as a thing that the enemy, meaning God, demands, and then work on him on a stage which he values Christianity because it may produce social justice. Tough choice. Do I go with Jim Wallace or C.S. Lewis? That's a tough call. I'm going to have to Now, I'm going to make the decision. C.S. Lewis. You also have the president. They had been attacking me for something else. The president talks an awful lot about collective salvation. Listen.
It's because you have an obligation to yourself. Because our individual salvation depends on collective salvation.
No, it really doesn't. That's where the whole atonement comes in. It's a personal thing. And I'm not the only one who thinks that. You can go with President Obama or Pope Benedict on collective salvation. Quote, "Wherever politics tries to be redemptive, it is promising too much. Where it wishes to do the work of God, it becomes not divine, but demonic." Let's see, the guy who got the gospel first time from Jeremiah Wright's church for 20 years, or the Pope. Again, another tough choice. I wish I had a lifeline or call a friend or something I could do. But I think I'm going to go with the Pope. And then you have James Cone. Here's what he says you need to do for salvation.
The only way in which your repentance, your forgiveness can be authentic, your reception of it can be authentic, your repentance can be authentic, is that you give back what you took. And white people took a lot from black people.
I may have read that in the Screwtape letters. I'm not sure. See, apparently what God says isn't good enough. You have to spread the wealth around. This game has to stop. The ends do not justify the means. You want to start a revolution? You want to start a revolution? Well, I have one for you. Start with yourself. Live with honor, because very few people are doing it. Live with integrity. Stand in the truth. Stand in the truth. More in a second. If you watch this program and you are, you just happen to watch this program and you watch it because you respect me, I ask for your faith one more time. 3 or 4 years ago, I said to people, get your money out of the stock market. It's a game, and it's going to come crashing down, and everybody said that I was a fool. A few people did, and they saved their fortunes. I told you in the last year about financial reform and health care. I told you how it was going to come down. I told you it was about redistribution of wealth. They denied it until now. You see who they've appointed. I told you that Congress, I begged the congressmen and senators, please, don't you see you're making yourself irrelevant? They're irrelevant now. I told you in January that racism was going to be the main thrust of this election. And here we are. May I ask you to ponder and consider one thing. Please get yourself into a place to where you know what is true. Please find yourself back in church. Please. Back in a place where you're listening to the Spirit. I don't care if it's on the top of a mountain. I don't care what church I don't care. Just surround yourself with truth in your whole life. This is a fantastic book. It is the King James Version of the Bible, but it talks about all of the history of America and how it relates in this. It is a fantastic, fantastic book, The American Patriot's Bible. If you haven't bought one for a long time, please buy this one. And then do me a favor. I tell you, I've only told about 5 or 6 people exactly what's going to happen at 8/28 in August 28, just 28 days away, 27 days away now, in Washington, D.C. at the Lincoln Memorial. And the people that I have told, about 5 of them, they've all had the same reaction. Oh my gosh, Glenn, the hair is standing on end on my arm. There's going to be a shockwave, a positive transformation in America, I believe, on that day. Please join me. If not, I ask you to fast and pray for that day. Pray for our country. Back in a second. Thank you for spending your Monday evening with me. On tomorrow's show, I'll show you who's controlling the message, the media, who's financing it, and who is spreading it. The web of truth. That's tomorrow night from New York. Good night, America.